Now, as we can see, the central bankers, they never do anything that will benefit the people. I mean, prime example is the Brexit. Now, we talked about how this deal, well, it wasn't for the people. It's weighted towards the EU, the central bankers. This is why the EU was out there threatening the people of the UK that you better accept this or else. And you can tell by their threats that they don't want this to go any other way except their way. And what's going to happen is most likely this plan is going to be in a transitional phase for a very long time. Because we've said this from the beginning. The central banks, they want total control. Now, what's very interesting is that we know that Trump has Andrew Jackson hanging on his wall. This is the signal that he's going after the central banks. This is the ultimate plan. He's already mentioned that he's not a globalist. He's getting rid of the globalist trade deals. He's pushing bilateral trade deals. And he's unwinding everything the central bank, the deep state, has done to our economy. He's removing a lot of the regulations. I mean, can he do everything at once? Absolutely not. Completely impossible. Think about how many years it took to put all these regulations into place, to put all these tax laws into place, to push manufacturing, businesses out of the country. Can he just reverse everything in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? No, it's going to be very, very difficult because they made it so intertwined that it's very difficult to unwind all of this. But he's doing it. And not just him alone. There's many people working on this together. And we know from Q, where they gave us this list of Rothschild banks and said this is the target, the central bank. This is the ultimate goal, is to get rid of the Rothschild system. We see that Trump was out there and he is criticizing the Brexit plan. Now, he came out and he criticized Theresa May, saying the divorce deal she has negotiated with the EU jeopardizes Britain's ability to seal a trade deal with America. Now, what's interesting about this is he's hammering away at May, saying this is an awful deal, which it is. May is not working in the best interest of the people. This is not really what the people want. She's going along with the elite, the establishment, the central bankers. And Trump said, it is a great deal for the EU, but not so much for Britain. Yes, this is exactly right. So he's telling May this is a bad deal. And he's also saying, listen, we know what's going on here. This deal that is put together, it's weighted towards the central bank. And this is why he's out there and he's pointing the finger. Yeah, this is a great deal for the EU. Now, if it was any other president, Obama, Clinton, Bush, they would have said, wow, what a great deal. The people should take it. We're behind you. They would never call out the EU or the central banks. But here we are, again, pointing the finger at the central bank. He went on to say, right now, as the deal stands, they may not be able to trade with the U.S., and I don't think they want that at all. That would be a very big negative for the deal. And Trump argued that May should restart negotiations with Brussels with a view to securing better terms for Britain. He knows this is another lopsided deal pushed by the central bankers. If you look back in time with the U.S. and all the other countries around the world, they push their own deals. They don't care what the people think. They don't care what the people want. It's what they want. Why do you think they created the World Trade Organization? Why do you think they created the IMF, the BIS? Why do they tell us that gold is no good? Why do they demonize Bitcoin in particular? Because they're preparing to create their own cryptocurrency. They're preparing to centralize and control a digital currency. That's their entire plan all along. And if you really look at Bitcoin and you look at all the other cryptocurrencies, actually they're decentralized. and the central bank can't control them. That's what they're really afraid of. A currency system that competes with theirs and might be better than theirs. And people might recognize it, and people might say, you know something, why do we need the central bank? But don't worry, their days are numbered, because the ultimate goal is complete transparency, to let everyone see what the central bankers have been up to. That's the ultimate plan in all of this. Now, what we're seeing in the economy is that it's deteriorating very, very quickly. And Trump had a certain period of time, along with the Patriots who were working with him, to do as much as he possibly could before the entire system fell apart. Now, we're looking at consumer confidence, and it looks like that is fading right now. And people are becoming worried. They're seeing, like GM, for instance, where they're closing plants. People are being laid off. Trump is now lashing out at GM, saying, listen, we're going to be cutting your subsidies. This is ridiculous. And we know what's been happening to the automobile manufacturing. They've been lying to everyone about how well they're really doing. Actually, that is the same with almost every other piece of the economy, where they just told people, yeah, hey, look, it's fantastic. Oh, but by the way, don't let anyone see that we're channel stuffing the lots. Don't let anyone know that as we put more and more cars into the lot, we count those as sales. And then we try to get the subprime people, and then the subprime people. Then we try to give incentives, many incentives, to push these cars. And a lot of these people are delinquent on their payments. And it's all starting to show up now. And Trump is looking out towards the future and saying, what is going on here? And he's starting to realize that many parts of these corporations, the manufacturers, they've been lying. And you can see just by his tweets, he's getting a little bit angry here. But when we look at consumer confidence and we look at the savings rate, there's a strange correlation with what happens with the economy. When consumer confidence reaches a certain point, then starts to decline rapidly, all of a sudden we enter a recession. Now, at the same time, as confidence is moving up, the saving rates of the American people, that is in decline. So we have confidence moving up, saving rates moving down, and when confidence hits a peak and the savings rate declines to a peak, all of a sudden we enter a recession. And people are spending money they really don't have. Yes, you might feel good. And of course, what the central bankers normally do is they pump up these housing prices. And when people see their housing prices move up, they feel good. They feel comfortable. They say, oh, look, we have all this money in our house. This is fantastic. So if something happens, we can fall back on that. So you are feeling comfortable. You're feeling good. And you go out and you purchase things. That's how the mindset works. This is what's been happening for many, many years. What we're seeing right now is the opposite. Home prices, they are declining right now. Case-Shiller is even reporting that we're seeing a slowdown in home prices. Now remember, the central banks, they pump up the economy in 20 cities to show that housing prices were doing fantastically. Now what we're seeing is it can't be sustained, especially with the interest rates moving up. And a lot of those other areas outside of the 20 cities, they are getting hit. But many of the 20 cities, they're also getting hit. We see condo sales in LA, Chicago, New York. They're down by negative 22%, negative 24%, and 17% year on year. Realtors, academics, and the rest, financial pundits, economists, they're all on board with Trump, demanding Powell put a hold on rates. Think about what Trump just did right now. When he was out there contradicting the Fed, everyone was against him. How dare you contradict the Fed? How dare you tell the Fed what to do with interest rates? Now we have all these same individuals who were saying the opposite of what Trump was saying. Now they're on the same page because they're starting to realize that their plan to bring down the economy, well, they need to stop it right now because they're not in control of the narrative. And they realize, whoa, when the Fed does raise interest rates, things start to fall apart. And if you look a little bit deeper, why is this? Because the economy is a gigantic illusion. They lied about all these statistical numbers. They lied about the economy. They lied about what the Fed has been doing all this time. We really don't know how much the Fed has really created. I mean, we have some idea, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot worse than we even think. Their books are closed. We have no idea where they funneled this money off to. This is why, in the end, it's all about auditing the Fed. And once you do this, and once the system comes down, and people understand and realize what is happening here, well, they're going to say no more Fed, no more central banks. Look what they've done. They destroyed a global economy. And guess what? Who has control of the narrative at this point? Not the central bank. We see the World Trade Organization. They're out there and they are warning that the global trade is slowing down. And it's going to slow down even further in the fourth quarter. Now remember, the World Trade Organization, Trump is out there, Xi Jinping's out there, Putin's out there saying, listen, we need to change the way this whole thing works. And what they're really saying is we need to change the globalist system. Now remember, when the World Trade Organization and the globalists are out there saying that everything's starting to slow down, this is their system that is slowing down. So what we're going to see as we move forward here, we're going to see the globalist central bank system come to a screeching halt. This is what we want to happen. We want the central bankers responsible for destroying the global economy. And as we're transitioning into something completely different, the central banking system, the global trade and all those trade deals and everything else, they're all going to start to slow down, decline, and crash. And this is why they're out there telling you this is happening. Now, they're trying to convince you that, oh, look, Trump is going to hurt the entire system. The tariffs are making everything slow down. No, their system is slowing down. And it was slowing down no matter what. The central banker system doesn't last forever. It only lasts 40 to 45, maybe 48, 49, 50 years, depending on how much manipulation. But at a certain point, manipulation breaks apart from reality. And if you have everyone out of a job and you're telling everyone how great unemployment is and how great GDP is and how great the market is, and everyone is making either no money or they have part-time jobs and they can barely get by, nobody really cares about the statistical numbers anymore. They're absolutely meaningless. So what we're seeing right now is Trump is out there contradicting the Fed, blaming the Fed, actually speaking up about the Brexit plan, saying, listen, this is all weighted towards the EU, the central banks. This is their plan. What happened to the people's plan? That's out the window? Maybe May needs to renegotiate this and listen to the people and what they want. And you can see how all of this is coming to a head right now. And as we move forward, you're going to hear Trump continually point fingers at all these different players because they're all part of the same system. And yes, we're going to be going through this transition. Now, the central banker on the other side, yes, they're going to try to push us into their own cryptocurrency that they control that is electronic. This way they can keep tabs on everyone. They don't want you to go into Bitcoin. They don't want you to go into Litecoin. They don't want you to go to Ethereum. They don't want you to go into any of those others. They want you to use theirs. And they're going to try to force governments into making you use theirs, just like they did when they were first created. Think about the Fed. You must use the Federal Reserve note. Think about the ECB. You must use the euro. Think about what the central bankers do. And they're going to try to do this moving forward. Now, on the other hand, we have patriots who are going to say, no, this is not happening. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we're going to open up your books. We're going to show what you've been up to over the many, many, many years. And we're going to show everyone the treasonous crimes. We're going to show what you've been really doing. And then we're going to let the people decide what should happen to the central banks. And once the people see this, they're going to say, we're done with you. Never again.